Hey guys, happy Sunday. So welcome back to sewing series. If you are not familiar with this series, then go check out my last two sewing series videos. I will post the introduction and the knowing your sewing machine videos down below, so that way you guys can catch up on the series. And if you already are familiar with this series, happy Sunday. Or if you're not watching this on Sunday, let's just pretend it's Sunday. I am just going to be today showing you guys the essentials to sewing. There's essentials that you're going to be needing in order to start sewing. I know you guys are really excited to jump into the tutorials, and I just want to start jumping into the tutorials too, the sewing tutorials, the DIYs, but I want to make sure you guys have all of your materials. I want to make sure that you guys know the machine. Now I'm going to show you guys the essentials. So there are quite a few essentials for sewing. There are a lot of things that you can use. Why does my phone keep going off? Like, Teeks, come on, really? So rude. But these are just the main ones that you guys are going to need just to start off sewing. So that is what I'm going to be showing you today. A lot of these materials you can find at Walmart for super cheap, and you can spend no more than $20, which I think is a bang for your buck, girl. $20 for some sewing materials, you better get to Walmart. To it, I did have to buy a couple of newer things because my sewing kit, I haven't used it in a while. Some of my pins dulled up. A lot of my things I left at my mom's house, so I did have to re-up on some stuff. So yeah, some of this stuff is in packaging and some of it I took out of the package. So the number one thing that you're going to need before you even start sewing is a sewing machine. Duh. I'm going to need a sewing machine. So of course we all know in order to sew you do need a sewing machine. Now if you know how to hand sew, then I mean you don't really need a sewing machine, but I would recommend a sewing machine because we're going to need that in order to sew. And before you get ready, I do want to just throw some advice out there for you guys. Now if you are a beginner in sewing and you're not really sure if you're going to really like it or not, I wouldn't recommend going out and just buying a sewing machine right now. I would maybe borrow a sewing machine from a relative, or maybe go find one at like a Goodwill or that's second-handed, maybe like a hand-me-down, just so that you don't have to actually spend so much money. Because I know there's a lot of girls out there who want sewing machines but can't really afford it, so definitely check your local thrift stores. So in case you might not even like sewing, that you can just get rid of it, and then you didn't even pay that much money for it. The next thing that you're gonna need in order to start sewing is thread, and I have just different colors of thread. I love purple. Purple is like my favorite color. So I do have some purple thread, and this is all-purpose thread, so that means you can use it for anything, for jeans, for shirts, for if you're just hemming something, anything, this is going to be perfect. So look for all-purpose thread. So yeah, this one is by Coats, and then this one is like an older one that my grandma gave me, and it's in like the color blue. I have some reds and a white one. I would recommend you starting off with just neutral colors like your grays, your blacks, your whites. I would definitely start off with those three colors: gray, black, and white. Maybe a brown and maybe a blue, and then maybe find a couple other colors, because thread doesn't really cost that much. So yes, definitely want to make sure that you have thread. Next thing that you're going to need in order to start sewing is straight pins, and these ones I got from Walmart, and I paid $6 for this cute little packaging, and I really love it. And it has a pin cushion on it as well, and it's really cute and just fun, and I thought it was just perfect for spring. But as you can see, I have a pin and I just stick it in here. Straight pins are going to be an essential when sewing. You are going to be using these basically to hold your fabrics, your two pieces of fabric down in place. So think of them as like extra fingers basically. So they're just extra fingers to help you out. And you're also going to want to have a pin cushion. And I have a lot of pin cushions. I actually have another one too. But I have this red tomato one, which we all see a lot with sewing. This is like the holy grail, the tomato for pin cushions. So I have a tomato one, and I also have this cute little one that I just like to put on my desk. so that way I can, it's just pretty. I don't know, I just really like it. You have just a whole bunch of colorful straight pins in here, so this is always nice and handy to have more than one pin cushion, so that way you can just stick them in whenever you're sewing and you're good to go. They also have magnetic ones, so if you just wanted to kind of magnetically just stick on, you can maybe find those at like a Hobby Lobby or a fabric store if that's something that you would like, magnetic. But for me, I just like to use these, but hey, if you want to be fancy, go ahead and do it, girl. The next thing that you're gonna need is just any assorted needles. I like to use these just in case I have to hand sew anything. So you're definitely gonna want to have assorted needles as well as extra sewing machine needles. So that way if your sewing machine needle breaks, you can just easily take it out and replace it. So definitely have those on hand, and I like to have these assorted needles as well. So that way if I do have to do any hand sewing, I will just have these ones, and these are a 25 pack of assorted needles by Singer. You're going to want to have when sewing is a sewing gauge, and this is just perfect. I think this is like one of my favorite little tools. It's actually just a small metal ruler. It does have a sliding marker, so that way you can mark your seam allowances when you're sewing. When you need to do a 1/4 or a 1/2 inch sewing seam allowance, you can just slide the blue marker to the desired measurement, so that way you can have your seam allowance. And I just think it's really easy and really simple to use. So you are going to need one of these when sewing so that you can, my dog, so that you can have the perfect seam allowance. The next thing that you're going to want to have in your sewing kit is going to be a seam ripper. You are gonna need this a lot, girl, I'm telling you. I have had days, worse days, when I just was impatient, I messed some stuff up, and you made a mistake. You can never go wrong with the seam ripper, because this is going to be your life. I'm trying to tell you, a seam ripper is going to be your life. It's not going to get all of it out, but it is going to help. I am going to do a tutorial showing you how to use a seam ripper, so definitely get this in your kit. Ladies and gentlemen, please invest in a good pair of fabric scissors. And I know you're going to be like, why can't we just use regular scissors, teaks? Like, what's the big deal? No, you're gonna want some really sharp fabric scissors. So I went ahead and bought myself a new pair because I forgot my other pair at my mom's house, of course. These blades on the fabric scissors are sharper, so they're definitely gonna cut into the fabric way better. And I got this one because it is perfect for smaller hands, and I have smaller hands, so it's definitely going to help me. And I think these pair are great. If you don't have a rotary cutter, to have these. I am going to invest in a rotary cutter as well as a rotary mat, but I just felt like I don't really need to invest in that right now. So, but later on down the road, I am going to get one. I want to get a really nice one for a table, so that's why I'm kind of holding out on getting a rotary cutter. But yeah, that's something else that you will need in your sewing kit as well, is a rotary cutter and a rotary mat. So I will post that right here as well. Definitely make sure you invest in some fabric scissors, and please only use these for fabric. I'm going to place some fabric, like tie some fabric onto my fabric scissors. That way I can remind myself, hey, these are only to use just for specifically my sewing fabrics. You're also going to want to get some other scissors as well. These scissors are just regular pairs of scissors that I have laying around the house, and I am just going to use these ones for cutting like my tracing paper, my patterns, and things like that. You also want to just have a little small pair of shears. Now if you don't use the thread cutter on the machine, you also want to have just a little pair of scissors, that way you can cut your thread. Tape measure, ladies, you're going to need a tape measure, and mine is rolled up. We all know what tape measures look like. Come on, let's be serious. No, I'm just kidding, but you're going to need a tape measure. This is going to help you measure, you know, the body parts and things like that. It's just going to help you measure everything. And plus, it looks really good around your neck. It makes you look official. Come on now, we all know any designer is not going to look official without the tape measure. So let's just, oh well. Hey, I look official, don't I? Yes. Fabric markers or some type of fabric pencil or even chalk. What I did was I went and just got some colorful chalk. because this is going to easily erase off any of your fabric, or so when you wash it. So just get some type of fabric marker. They have fabric pencils, they have fabric pens. This is what you're going to use when you need to mark your seam allowances or need to just mark any measurements. What you want to have is your bobbins, and I have a whole bunch of these. I have one with black thread on it, so I can switch that out in my machine. White fabric on it, and I just have an empty one on it just in case I want to do some color thread. So make sure you have more than one bobbin, because you're not going to want to have to take off the thread and thread it back up and put it in the machine. It's just too much, so definitely make sure you have the bobbins, a ruler, and I just have this really nice see-through ruler, and this is once again just going to be used so you can make any measurements and make it a little bit more precise. If I'm not using the measuring tape, I like to have this because it's just more steady. I can have a steady hand and draw with my chalk. So just make sure you have a ruler in your kit. So that's always good, and this was only 10 cents at Walmart. I got it for 10 cents. And of course, you see I have purple. I love purple. Also going to want to have a tracing wheel, and it just looks like this. It looks like a rotary cutter actually. Safety pins, I like to use these when I'm using any type of elastic. This, I have elastic in my sewing kit, so that way you can pull it through the fabric. So these are what the safety pins are usually used for. I like to have zippers in my sewing kit, but this is not something that you need as of right now. This is just optional. I like to have zippers and buttons. I had a whole thing of buttons, but they're actually in my room. I forgot about them. But I definitely do like to keep zippers different colors for if I'm making anything that needs to have a zipper on it. So the last thing that you're going to need to have as a part of your sewing kit is an iron. I have just a basic iron that I have from at home. If you don't have an iron at home, you can just buy one. But I would hope that we all have irons at home. I mean, it's 2014. I know a lot of us don't really iron anymore. So yeah, but I would hope you would have this, because this is going to be an essential to just make all of your fabrics really crisp and clean. Why is my dog scratching on the door? To look really good, all of your seams and things. So definitely have this on deck, as well as an ironing board. You can also buy a sewing box. Now this one is a sewing box that I got from my grandma. She gave me my first sewing box. Well, she didn't really give it to me. It was kind of her sewing box, but I just started sewing. She didn't really use it too much, so I just kind of, whatever, she kind of gave it to me, whatever, and said I can basically just use it. So yeah, this is just her little sewing box that I've been using. It's just this really nice little vintagey sewing box, and it holds all of my little sewing materials in here. But I am planning on going out to find another sewing box that's really pretty, nice, and girly. I don't know, I just want something different. But I do want to keep this because my grandma gave it to me, so yeah, definitely want to keep this around. But definitely go invest in some type of sewing storage, so that way you can hold all of your sewing materials right next to your sewing machine. So that is about it, you guys, for this sewing essentials video. In the next sewing series, we will be talking about how to thread the sewing machine. So we're definitely going to be hopping on our sewing machine next week, and I'm pretty excited to show you guys how to get this sewing machine going, so that way you guys can start sewing. Hey, that kind of rhyme. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, hit the subscribe button so that you can stay updated with all my sewing series videos, as well as all of my other videos on my channel. Don't forget to like this video if you are loving sewing series so far. Also, go head over to my Instagram, my Facebook, and my Twitter so that you can stay updated with me daily, because I post on there daily. So definitely go follow me on all my social networks. All of those links will be down below. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you next Sunday. Bye!